ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अन्तर्यश्च बहिर्विधूततिमिरं ज्योतिर्मयं शाश्वतं स्थानं प्राप्य विराजते विनमताम् अज्ञानमुन्मूलयन्। पश्यन् विश्वमपीदमुल्लसति यो विश्वस्य पारे परः तस्मै श्रीरमणाय लोकगुरवे शोकस्य हन्त्रे नमः। तस्मै श्रीरमणाय लोकगुरवे शोकस्य हन्त्रे नमः। Before we begin with today's inquiry, let us chant all the verses. कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलं कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडं कृतिमहो दधौ पतनकारणं फलमशाश्वतं गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकं कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगत ईषधीयुक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृद्देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवादुच्चमन्दतः चित्तजं जप ध्यानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया स्रोतसा समम् सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परम् भेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा पावनीमता भावशून्यसद्भावसुस्थितिः भावनाबलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृत्स्थले मनः स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्तियोगबोधाश्च निश्चितम् वायुरोधनाल्लीयते मनः जालपक्षिवद्रोधसाधनम् चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलका लयविनाशने उभयरोधने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नो मृतम् प्राणबन्धनाल्लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तनान्नाशमेत्यदः नष्टमानसोत्कृष्टयोगिनः कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्थितिं यतः दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मनः चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनम् मानसन्तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विध्यहं मनः अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वतः अयि पतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभाज्यहमहन्तया स्फुरति हृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णसत् इदमहं पदाभिख्यमन्वहम् अहमिलीनकेऽप्यलयसत्तया विग्रहेन्द्रियप्राणधीतमः नाहमेकसत्तज्जडं ह्यसत् सत्त्वभासिका चित्क्ववेतरा सत्तया हि चित्तया ह्यहम् ईशजीवयोर्वेषधीभिदा सत्स्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् वेषहानतः स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनं स्वात्मरूपतः आत्मसंस्थितिः स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्द्वयादात्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता ज्ञानहीनचित् ज्ञानमस्ति किं ज्ञातुमन्तरम् किं स्वरूपमीत्यात्मदर्शने अव्यया भवा पूर्णचित्सुखं बन्धमुक्त्यतीतं परं सुखं विन्दतीह जीवस्तु दैविकः अहमपेतकं निजविभानकं महदिदन्तपो रमणवागियम् अहमपेतकं निजविभानकं महदिदन्तपो रमणवागियम् अहमपेतकं निजविभानकं महदिदन्तपो रमणवागियम्. So, we had started with the enquiry into what is the nature of this mind. The direct path was given by Shri Ramana Maharshi ji. He said there is a better path to know one's own true self. What is the direct path? Rather than beating around the bush and looking for what is the cause, what are my problems, and dealing with those problems, it is better to directly go to the root of the problem. And what is that root? Where all these problems are arising from? The problems are arising from the ignorance of my own true nature. The problems are arising because I don't know my own true self. Who am I? Then let's try to understand what my true nature is. It is better to know who am I and then answer all the questions. Okay. Thus, the enquiry began, what is the nature of the mind? If it is mind which is troubling us, then let's try to understand what this mind is. And then the answer came that all the thoughts in my mind alone are my mind. Mind is not something different from these thoughts. Let's simplify. Different colored pots, vases, cups, etc. made up of mud. Are they not all mud? Is it not? Actually, this is the example which is opposite. This is not exactly appropriate, but let's go along with it. So if I were to say these are nothing but mud, so mud and pot are not different. But look at it from the different way. Usually the mud is the cause, etc. That's how we see. But here, the constituent parts, that which I call my mind is nothing but its constituting components, which are thoughts. So thoughts alone are mind. Okay. Then let's analyze those thoughts. What are the types of these thoughts? And then we understood that there are two types of thought primarily. One is I, the subject thought, and the object thought. Thought pertaining to me as myself. Now, how do I see myself along with this body, etc.? That is a different story. If I see myself with this body as this jiva, etc., that is a different story. But there is I and there is object. This. Always the object is known and the knower is me, ahankara, the egocentric human. That which we call as ahankara in transactional world, that ego. So there is this ahankara, and based on ahankara, all this idam vritti, object thoughts arise. So in the end, all these object thoughts are based on this I thought. So for the substrat, for them, for object thoughts, the substratum is this I. And we had analyzed, if this I is not there, when this I is not there, all this is absent. What do you mean? Simple. When I go to sleep, when I am not dreaming also, in that deep sleep, where ahankara has gone into laya, the ego has dissolved, ego has gone back into its own true nature, into its swarupa. It has undergone dissolution, of course, temporary dissolution. What's happening is, nothing is being born as this. Nothing is being experienced as this. Whatever that is being seen or experienced is ignorance alone. So, I never say, I am sleeping now, I am experiencing sleep. It is just that that's it. When I wake up, then I say, I slept very well. When I wake up, my ahankara, that ego, also rises. It comes back, and when it comes back, all the objects, experience of these objects, it comes back. Having understood this, then we analyze, okay, this ahankara, this aham, this alone is mind. Okay, what next? Now, let's analyze who is this I. And when I analyze this I understood that the I which I am referring to is temporary. It is not permanent. And there is someone who is the witness consciousness of this I. This I continuously keeps changing, but there is one who is always present all throughout. And he is not an experiencer like the I which I usually refer myself to. We had seen the example. Let me just quickly revise. For any observation, in an experiment, for any observation to be continuously known, one single observer needs to be there. There needs one single observer only to know the changes in that which is being observed. If there are multiple observers, then the changes will not be known by them unless they relay that information, which is a totally different story. We are not concerned with that at all. So, to know the changes in the environment, and when I say changes in the environment, in our case, it is 3 states: waking, dream, and deep sleep. To know waking, to know dream, and to know deep sleep, further, for waker and dreamer and deep sleeper to be the same, we need something which is different from all these 3 states, which is present throughout all these 3. Because ahankara, he is fully awake, it is completely available in waking, partially available in dream, and not available in deep sleep. So the ahankara cannot be the observer who is present through all these 3. If you say he is there but not there in deep sleep, let's go into Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where Ahankara is totally absent. What is there? That which is present in absence of, devoid of, independent of all these three states, that I is me. And then what happens is, when that is known, automatically the I, which I ignorantly was referring myself to, that I drops, Ahankara drops, and my own true nature shines forth, because that is its true nature. Now there is no more covering on that my own true nature, so I can experience myself in my own true nature. Now experience, quote unquote, you have to use this word experience. This experience is not like any transactional experience where something which is experienced is different from me. I am experiencing myself. That's it. Okay. But we have a doubt. What happens to that I which went away? The I, the Ahankara which went away. If you ask what happened to that Ahankara, let me tell you a simple story. Let me ask you a counter question. What happened was, there was a pool or lake. At night, in that pool of water, full moon, on full moon night, the moon was shining. The moon was shining in that water. But what happened was, some wind came or something happened, and that water from that pool completely dried up. It all went away. Now, when that water went away, when water is gone, what happens to that reflection of that moon? Where did it go? Did that moon which was reflected got destroyed? It went back to its original, the moon, or it has merged back to earth? Neither is true. In reality, the reflection was in my perception only. In reality, it was not there at all. Just because I experienced, I said it is there. From that standpoint, I can say, when that pool of water dried up, that water went away, the reflection went back to its original source, which was the moon itself, which is the moon itself. But to say, even to say that it has merged back, it has gone back to its original bimba, is fallacious. But from transactional standpoint, for our own sake, we can say that. In the same way, when this ahankara gets destroyed, in reality, which ahankara? The ahankara which I thought it is there. I thought that ahankara is present, but in reality that ahankara is not there. That ahankara has gone away. But there is a problem. Theoretically understanding this whole thing is easy, possible. But tell me, how should I conduct the inquiry? I want to know. I understand what you're trying to say. I understand the logical part behind this. I understand the analysis. Yet, tell me, how should I conduct this inquiry so no doubt is left in my mind? Okay. Ramana Maharshi ji says, let me give you how to inquire. See the 22nd verse. विग्रहेन्द्रिय प्राणधीतमः नाहमेकसत् तज्जडं ह्यसत्. Now the first strike. Ramana Maharshi ji says, okay, Vigrahendriya pranadhitamaha. All these. He says Vigraha, form. Here referring to the body, this gross body, which has some tangible form, that which can be experienced. Dhi, Vigraha, Indriya. Indriya, sense organs, organs of perception or organs of knowledge and organs of action, etc. Indriya, Prana, Panchaprana, five pranas, vital layers. Dhi, Buddhi, intellect. Tamaha, Tamaha, ignorance, darkness. Tamaha literally means darkness, but here ignorance. Why now you will if and this is a common logic, simple logic behind. Why tamaha, darkness, is associated with ignorance? Because in darkness nothing can be perceived. With eyes you don't know anything. All our capacity, all our capabilities of perception, they are highly reduced. Of course, by listening, by touch, we know something. But that knowledge is not as vivid and clear as seeing with our eyes for us. That's why darkness is associated with ignorance. This can be further analyzed. We are not going to do that analysis right now, but let me give you some idea, gist. Interestingly, when we say I don't know something, it is not the total ignorance of that particular thing. Please be careful. Please listen carefully, attentively. When I say, oh, I don't know what that theory of relativity is. Now, when I say I don't know what that theory of relativity is, then what I really am saying is, I know the word theory of relativity. I know there is some theory, something called as relativity, but I don't know the details behind that or that thing in detail. I have some vague idea, and that vagueness can be measured. It can be more or less. I know some part of it, but I don't know the major part of it. That's why I said I don't know it. This is a well accepted fact and rule that a thing which I totally don't know, I have, I have no idea about it at all. We can never be ignorant of that thing. We can never be ignorant of a thing which is totally not known. Now this sounds funny, but it is which is true. Let me give you an example. Now, before I say this statement, you have to answer. Okay, let me rephrase. Now you have to answer from from the standpoint of listening to this statement. Before listening to this statement, do you know Mirabilis Jalapa? Now, before I uttered these words, Mirabilis Jalapa, did you have any idea of knowing and not knowing about this word? No. Because you had no idea that something like this exists. If someone who is from botany and someone knows, it's fine. It's not for them. But they can go back and they can see when they first heard that word. The point is, if I don't know something at all, I can never say I am ignorant of that thing. From where has this started? Ahankara, etc. My Swarupa, etc. So, When I say I am ignorant of something, I know that thing partially. Vigraha indriya prana dhi tamaha. The ignorance. That's what this ignorance does. Ignorance covers the true nature of the object which we are trying to know, which we are aware of. And when that true nature is covered, we don't know that thing correctly, perfectly, exactly what it is. The ignorance itself, with its power of projection, projects something else on that thing. And we know that object fallaciously wrong. So this ignorance, vigraha indriya prana dhitamaha. Vigraha indriya prana dhitamaha. All these. That is the gross body, subtle body with prana, indriya, buddhi, mana, etc. and tamaha, ignorance. Ignorance referring to causal body. So gross body, subtle body, causal body. All these. Ramana Maharshi ji says, Naham. I am not all these. Huh? What are you saying? I am sitting here, I am listening to your lecture right now with this gross body. Am I not? Yes, you are listening. But as we discussed earlier, you are not the one who is listening. You are the witness consciousness of that listener, the ahankara. No, no. We have to accept this fact. Ramana Maharshi ji gives the logic behind. He says, you are not all these. The sthula sharira, sukshma sharira, karana sharira, the gross body, the subtle body and causal body. Why? Because tat jadam. They are all inert. Inert, insentient. Jada. I am not that. Na aham. These gross body, subtle body, causal body are not me. I am not them. I am that existence, pure existence principle. I am not all these gross body, subtle body, causal body, which are jada, inert, insentient, and asat, relatively existing or non-existent. Huh? I don't understand. How can they be inert? I can feel myself. When it hurts, it pains. This is moving. How can this be inert, insentient? I am alive. I am a living being. Yes, you are a living being. But that living being which you are referring to, that is not you. It's just the combination of all these. Sanghata. If you don't believe me, let us go by the definition. Let's understand what is the definition of Jada and Chetana. If we are to categorize what is Jada and what is Chetana, if you want to know what is sentient and what is insentient, simple. Just use these rules, lakshana. Use these indicators. What are they? If something is sentient in true sense, if something is really sentient, chetana, then it is capable of knowing itself. It is capable of knowing something different from itself, and yet it is untouched. Very carefully they have prepared this definition. Understand what is Chetana? Chetana is that which is swaprakasha, self-effulgent. When we say knowing, self-effulgent. It should be known independently. It does not need something else for it to be known. Like the lamp. Do you need any source of light for the lamp? No. The sun. Do you need something to know the sun? No, we don't need something else for knowledge of the sun. And can sun illumine other objects? Yes. Sun is capable of illumining other objects, and to know sun, we don't need anything else. In the same way, for a sentient entity, for an object which is sentient, we don't need any other source for it to be known. It is capable of revealing itself, and it also can reveal others. Okay, then what is Jada? Jada is that which does not know itself, which cannot reveal itself, and it is dependent on something else for knowledge. Like moon. We may say that moon is shining. But is it moon which is shining? No. Moon is just reflecting the sun's light. The light coming from the sun. Moon is not a self-effulgent entity. Moon is dependent on the sun for its light. In the same way, Jada Vastu is anything which is Jada is dependent on Chetana for itself to be known. Furthermore, if you don't understand this, let's simplify. If this gross body was Chetana, if this gross body was Chetana, sentient, then dead body would also have moved. And if dead body starts moving, no one is going to stand near, is it not? Let me tell you a story quickly. Just to imagine what would happen, what will happen if dead body would have moved. So there was this elderly couple. They used to quarrel all the time. A day never went by when they had not quarreled. So one day what happened was, it was almost evening time, and the wife, she cooked pakoras. Now, she prepared 5 pakoras. How many? 5. All was prepared, they sat down for eating. And because there were 5, they started fighting. They started quarreling. Husband said, because I earned for all the ingredients, I went out and brought all these ingredients, so I should get 3, you have to eat 2. Wife said, it doesn't matter if you brought these ingredients or not. Ingredients were always there. I worked for it. I prepared all those. So it's my work which has brought into this world all these pakoras. So because of my efforts, pakoras were prepared. So I should eat 3. They started arguing, started quarreling. In the end they decided, let's eat everything else. But for pakoras, what we are going to do is, the first person to move and speak, the first person to move and speak will have to eat 2, the other person will have to eat 3. They both agreed. So now agreement was made. The first person to move and speak The first person to move and speak will eat 2 pakoras, the other person will eat 3. So they went to sleep. After waking up, they both realized the first person to move and speak has to eat 2 pakoras. Nobody was ready to lose. Both of them were not ready to give up. Now they laid down there. The whole day passed by. The whole day passed by. No sound came from their home. So neighbors were worried. Every day early in the morning, we used to wake up by the sound of them quarreling. Nobody spoke. No sound has come from their room. What has happened? So the neighbors gathered. Many of them were not bothered at all. Who is going to face this quarreling couple? Unnecessary problems. Leave them. But somehow, 5 people who were really worried, they gathered. It was almost again dusk time. They gathered, they saw. They first peeked through window and they saw the couple lying on the ground, not moving at all. They put 1 plus 1, 2, and said they both have passed away. Now what to do? They said there is no one to take care of them. We alone have to take care of this elderly couple. They may have been quarreling, but they never disturbed anyone. They never went quarreling with someone else. They always helped the village, community, etc. So they decided they will do the cremation. Now, they carried the couple on their shoulders to funeral pyre, and yet both of them were not ready to move. Now both of them were put on funeral pyre. While this whole thing is going on, all those 5 people, they were engrossed in the work. They were ready with the whole thing. And now, the time came. The funeral pyre was to be lit. Still, husband and wife, they both did not move at all. The pyre was lit. Now flames started moving. The flames started getting bigger and bigger. In the end, the husband woke up and said, "Okay, it's now decided. I'll eat 2, you will eat 3. The husband woke up and said, "I'll eat 2, you'll eat 3. When all those 5 who had come there to cremate, when they heard this, they all ran away. Why? Simple. For them, a dead body moved. Is it possible for a dead body to move? No. So, in the end, dead body, which is gross body, is insentient. The gross body is insentient. Then what about mana, buddhi? How can they be insentient? Yes, they are insentient. Why? Because they also are dependent on Chaitanya. They they borrow Chaitanya, the consciousness, from Chaitanya. So the Chaitanya, the sentience which they have, the consciousness which they have is reflected, pratibimbita, and not the original. Let's take one more logic. That which is known different from me is always jada. Yat drishyam tat jadam. Whatever that is experienced is jada. Yat drishyam tat jadam. If I experience this gross body, I know this gross body. So this gross body is jada, insentient. How can you say so? Let's take one simpler example for this analysis. For example, let's take book or this pin. See this pin. Do I know this pin? Yes. If I know this pin, which is different from me, is it jada or chetana? Jada. Now you may argue you have deliberately picked up something which is not sentient at all. Okay. Let's first establish one rule. That thing which is known is different from me. Do you accept this? That thing which is known as this. Let me rephrase. Anything and everything which is known as this is different from me. That you have to accept back because we have analyzed that earlier. Object thought and I thought. Pin is known as this, different from me. Yes. Can it reveal itself or it is dependent on something else to be known? It is dependent on something else to be known. That means it is jada. Okay, I may say I am this person, yet I refer to myself as this body, this hand, this head, these eyes, etc. So all these, this whole gross body is known different from me. Now do not argue that that's how the language is. No. Experience are not based on the language. Language has come out based on our experiences. Please be careful with this. It's not that language is like that. So that's how we say, that's why we say this body, etc. No. Language is based on our experiences. Our experiences are not based on the language at all. That would be foolish. So, in the end, in conclusion, this body is known different from me. Oh yes, this body is known different from me. Can body reveal itself? Can body move by itself? No. So the gross body is jada. Now, let's take this logic some further. Jnanendriya and Karmendriya, Vigraha Indriya, are organs, are organs, sense or organs of perception and organs of knowledge, capable of working by themselves. If that was to happen, how better would that have been? I would have gone to sleep and asked my organs to do all the work. Is it not? I never would have required to work anytime. My indriyas are working, my organs are working, let them work. I'll sit down quietly. That's not possible. It doesn't happen. Why? Because sense organs, they need some source of sentience. And where is it coming from? It is my own true Swarupa. So, the organs, they are insentient. They are jada also. Also, I know myself to be different from these. I know my eyes. I know my ears. I know my hands. I know my legs. I know all these organs, so I am different from them. And if they are known, that means they are jada. Yadrishyam tat jadam. And same logic applies to prana, mana, buddhi, etc. everywhere. Thus, I am none of these because they all are jada, insentient. Then who am I? I am that who is which is the witness consciousness principle, that Chaitanya I am. I am that one Sat principle. Naham ek, Naham. I am not this gross body, subtle body and causal body. Naham. I am not. Then who am I? Aham ek Sat. I am that one homogeneous mass of consciousness, pure consciousness principle, that I am, that Sat Chaitanya I am. Okay. From this analysis, it is clear that this ahankara, etc., is an illusion, illusory appearance. And my true nature is existence, consciousness, bliss, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Ananda is usually sometimes is not referred to because it is taken for granted. Many of the time in certain texts or higher texts in Vedanta, they refer to Sat and Chit alone. Ananda is included. Ananda, the inquiry of Ananda is different. But they say Sat and Chit. Why? Because they are directly responsible. How so? Let's understand. Why Sat and Chit? In some other places, they are referred to with different names such as Satta and Spurti. Sat is referred to as Satta, existence. Chit is referred to as Spurti, consciousness. Consciousness principle, existence principle. Oh, so now there are two. One is existence principle and other one is consciousness principle. If you think so, no. They are not two different things. They are one and the same, referred to with two different indicators. Now, there is a doubt. Which consciousness illumines the existence? If there is existence and consciousness, what illumines this existence? And for existence to be illumined, the consciousness needs to exist. Yes. So, for consciousness, you need existence. For existence to know, you need consciousness. Yes. How is it possible? Is it not anyonyashraya dosha? The fallacy of mutual dependence. Sat is dependent on Chit to be known, and existence is known on Chit is dependent on Sat to exist. Consciousness principle is dependent on existence principle to exist. Existence principle is dependent on consciousness to work, to function, to known, to illumine. How does it work? Ramana Maharshi ji says, let's understand. Verse 23. सत्वभासिका चित्क्वेतरा सत्तया हि चेच्चित्तया ह्यहम्. Ramana Maharshi ji says, Sattvabhasika, Sattva, existence, Bhasika, Avabhasika, illuminator of Sat, illuminator of existence principle. Chit, the consciousness which is the illuminator of Sat principle. Kvavetara, Kvavaitara, where is there any another consciousness principle which illumines Sat? No. Sattaya hi chit, chittaya hyaham. Sattaya, existence, he, because. Chit, consciousness. Chittaya hyaham. Consciousness is indeed I am. Simple. Is there any another consciousness which is eliminates existence? There is not. There is no other consciousness which is eliminating existence. Then, because existence alone is consciousness, and that consciousness alone is existence, and that I am. Simple. No, no, no. There's something different, something wrong with this. What is it? How is it possible? I still don't understand. Of course, it's not simple to accept, but that is the truth. How can you say so? Let's see. Understand. Let's keep aside all these words, the jargon of these words, all these technical terms, etc. Let's simplify. Understand. This body, senses, that is sense organs, mind, etc. Are they superimposed on my own true nature? Yes, that we have analyzed and accepted. All these are superimposed on my own true nature. That's why I consider myself ignorantly as this gross body, etc. Okay. Since the self is self-evident, self-effulgent, knowledge principle, which can reveal itself, it shines forth even when the conditionings are not there. Even in absence of gross body, subtle body, and causal body, the self, the pure consciousness principle shines forth. The true self, my own true nature, shines forth. We have seen Sattva Bhasika, Sat, it, Aham, is, shines forth, it comes forward. Okay. Now, if you ask me, is there any other consciousness illumining the self? How can there be another consciousness? Why not? Do you need any other source of light to know a lit lamp? No. The self is self-evident. Let me repeat. The self is self-evident. Firstly, the self-illuminating entity does not need any other source of consciousness for illuminating it. It does not require any other source of light, nor such light is available. So, you don't need any other source of consciousness or light to know the pure consciousness principle and the self. Then, does consciousness illumine existence? There is something called as existence and which is illumined by consciousness. In other words, is this consciousness different from existence? Let's inquire. Is it possible for the existence of thing and existence to separately be there? Hmm, yes, I know what you are thinking. But that's not what we are referring to. What is it? let's come back to our earlier example. Does this pin exist? Yes, this pin is existing. Now, if this pin, this is made up of metal, if I melt this, if I destroy this, does the existence go away? If by destroying this pin the existence was to go away, then by destroying this pin all the things would cease to exist. So the existence cannot be destroyed. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. The existence is different from this pin. What you are saying is true, but this pin has different set of reality, different level of reality, plane of reality from existence. This pin, the name and form is superimposed on the existence principle, and this pin is borrowing existence for itself. So we are not talking about two things which are in different plane of reality. We are talking about self, which has two indicators. So is there difference? Are consciousness and existence two different things? If existence was different from consciousness in same plane of reality, the problem would be existence would be inert. Existence would be inert. How? Because it is different from consciousness. And if we say, no, 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 existence is there and it is self-effulgent. What about consciousness? Consciousness is not superimposed on existence. Existence is not inert. So the only conclusion is they are one and the same, seen from different viewpoints, standpoints, frame of references. Our experience, I am and I know I am, justify that self is consciousness, existence, both. And these two are not two different facets, they are one and the same. It is just our viewpoint which is used for describing that self. That's it. Based on our experiences, that self principle, my own true nature, my own true self is being indicated. Why? Because there is no other option. There is no way to indicate that. That which is difficult to be known needs to be indicated based on the experiences which are available to us. That's how the knowledge is passed down. That's why that self has been indicated as Sat and Chit, the existence principle and the consciousness principle, but these two are not two different things, they are one and the same. The existence alone is consciousness and the consciousness alone is existence, because they cannot be independent of each other and they both have same plane of reality. Thus, Sat alone, the existence principle alone is Chit, and the Chit, the pure consciousness principle alone is the existence. So that Sat Chit principle, pure existence consciousness principle, I am. Now, having explained this, Ramana Maharshi knows even after having gone through this whole analysis, a doubt is going to still remain. What is that doubt? Let that Brahman alone, everything will be there, everything be there. I need to pray. Why? Because Ishvara is different from me. In the end, we may talk all the sensible things, all the technical terms, all technical details of Brahman. when it comes to us, I am different from Ishvara. Raman Maharshi says no. Now it's time to correct this mistake. How to correct this mistake? How to know that me and Ishvara are not different? That inquiry, that analysis we will take next time. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om